I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
It's scary to watch someone you love confront failure, death, fear of going insane.
It's what it was really like. It was crazy.
I was making it on the crest of the acclaim of the Godfather films.
Every day, 100 problems. But I don't know what I'm doing.
I said, "Who is this Willard?" And Francis looked me square in the eye and he said, "He's you."
Brando agreed to the $1 million a week.
Are they seriously saying that Marlon would not show up?
It was like you were in a dream.
I was not in the greatest of shape.
Just do what I ask.
Marty's had a heart attack.
I really had a close call.
Film is not about Vietnam. It is Vietnam.
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of The Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, it's the return of Fax Bahr. He is the director of the documentary Hearts of Darkness, the film all about the making of Apocalypse Now. Also on this episode, I'm talking with James Mockoski. I interviewed the two of them together as there is a new restoration of Hearts of Darkness that is now touring around. Hearts of Darkness is one of the best films about the making of a film around. I talked with Fax way back when we discussed Apocalypse Now as a specific episode. He talked to me a little bit more about the making of the film, and Mr. Mockoski talked to me a little bit more about the restoration, and I'm hoping he might come on the show later on this year when we talk about Megalopolis. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoy the episode. James and Fax, it's great to talk with you guys. Fax, I'm super excited to talk with you again. And we're talking about kind of the same subject we discussed last time, but in a new light, which is Hearts of Darkness. Can you tell me, Fax, a little bit about how this project originally came to be?
Sure, yeah. I was working with a behind-the-scenes electronic press kit company, and George Zaloom, who was running the company, had just read Ellie Coppola's notes, and he said, "She talks about all this documentary footage. Have you ever heard of a film being made about the making of Apocalypse?" I said no, and he goes, "I'm going to call Zoetrope." So he did, and they were more than happy to talk to us about looking at the footage and making a film out of it. So that's how it was born.
And then, James, give me a little bit of your background. From what I understand, you've been working with the Coppola camp since the 70s? Right?
No, God, no. I don't go back that far. You just did that to make a joke, didn't you? No, I started with Zoetrope around 2001, 2002, just right after Francis recut Apocalypse Now Redux. So I became very familiar with all the assets of that, what it took to remake or recut Apocalypse. So it was about 10 years after Fax's endeavor with Eleanor and George Hickenlooper on Hearts of Darkness.
Your filmography looks crazy on IMDb because you help restore these films. So it looks like you've been working since 1926 with the Jonestown Flood.
Exactly right. Yes, I go back to the silent era.
It's funny you don't look a day over 25.
He's a vampire.
So tell me a little bit about the restoration process with this, because I mean, I saw this originally in the theater when it first came out. And then I think the last time I saw it was on VHS, maybe?
Eleanor passed away about a year ago, and she knew she was sick. we had gone through her collection of titles that she had worked on over the years from the 70s. We were working on her collection as she was ill. And it was very important for her to go through her entire life and go through all her films and make sure that they were all in good shape. I'd say that it was a good time to go with Hearts of Darkness with her. Unfortunately, she passed before she saw the restoration, but she knew that it was being restored at that time.
What were some of the challenges in restoring this film?
It's always about finding the assets. All the 16 millimeter was jumbled boxes, mislabeled 30 years ago, and it's just sort of clawing back or trying to be the detective of finding where everything was put 30 or so years ago. And that's a story about every single film that gets packed out at the end of the show. You know, you'll open up a box and you'll see, why did someone keep 62 grease pencils that were paying or white gloves, you know? But it's just like the mad dash of packing up a show at the end. Having the discussion with Fax about it was originally a stereo mix and maybe we should do a 5.1, should be upgraded, should it's appropriate. What about when we go to the Apocalypse Now clips? You were back in the day when they did this documentary, everybody had a square television. It was 4:3. So when they did the 2:3:5 Apocalypse Now aspect ratio, they had to letterbox it. So this big film got so tiny in the screen. And so we thought it would be great for the presentation. It's like the break out of that box. Still, the interviews and the footage Eleanor shot they were shot 4:3 at that time. But Apocalypse, at least we break out of that 4:3 box and go to the original aspect ratio. So at least has that impact.
And I always love that. I mean, it's history, right? It's living history. And this is the way the format was. And you see it, it change. And I always find that really locks the story into the time it was made. So I'm a fan of that. I mean, a lot of people are distracted by it, but I love it.
Fax, how is it going back to this material after all these years? I mean, obviously, we talked about this quite a few years ago. To make such a big splash with one of your early projects, do you feel haunted or are you proud of this?
Not haunted at all. And, what's fabulous about it is really what James was able to do with that footage. Because I don't think there was a lot of attention paid to coloring the first film when it came out. I think we just hurried it out there and it looks fine. It's sort of flat, but really it's a beautiful restoration. A whole new experience. I mean, he really dug into you used the inner negative. Is that right, James?
It was the original 16 millimeter footage that she shot. And then the stuff that you shot on either 16, we went back 6.2. So it was all original and negative.
So it's gorgeous. I mean, it's a new experience.
The thing with Eleanor, and we've talked about this a few times, Fax and I, is what it took Ellie to do and achieve back in the 70s, being a woman on her own to put this film together, and it wasn't really put together. It was sort of put in the closet after Apocalypse Now wrapped. And it was not till Fax's credit and Les Mayfield and George Zaloom, who unearthed all this, wanted to uncover this story that was just sort of forgotten about. And it's interesting because being in the trenches of Apocalypse, it was so raw in that moment. It was such a difficult experience for the family, the shooting. It was sort of Francis's first bankruptcy, and then going from Apocalypse from the Philippines into Hollywood to go into Zoetrope Studios, and producing One from the Heart, which was another our difficulty. So I can see, and it was great, the timing of this documentary worked so well because it needed 10 years to just sort of sit and coalesce and not be so raw and fresh in people's memory. Just let it percolate for a little while. And so I think it came at a very good time.
Was there any discussion of possibly recutting this while you had the opportunity?
No. Fax never expressed that, thankfully. I think it's perfect as it is. It is interesting because Francis always has a list of the things that he wants to do or go back or didn't feel like he had enough to say on things. Well, one, this wasn't his film, and he's always very respectful of that. But for his films, He'll go, oh, well, I wish I did this with The Godfather, or I wish I did this with Apocalypse. But then he'll say, I won't touch the conversation. It was perfect.
He's not wrong.
There's things that he can let go, and there's other things that he feels like, no, I wish I could push it a little bit. No.
I was curious, Fax, if there was footage that you had wanted to use maybe and couldn't figure out how to put it in there.
My first cut was 4.5 hours, maybe even longer. I mean, there was a ton of, well, Ellie covered everything from pre-production through post-production. There were some wonderful scenes of Michael Hare and Marty Sheen recording the incredible voiceover down in the basement of the Zoetrope recording studio. Yeah, there were a lot of darlings we had to kill, but to get it down to the 90 minutes that it is.
It leaves at a very good spot where the premiere in Westwood, but it goes in another journey after Cannes. It does go into another post-production sort of quagmire that never really gets explained, but post-production is not sexy. For the nerds, it's for us, but it's really on-set stuff. And I think Fax really, they shaped it in a very perfect way. So it ends on a perfect note.
Yeah, no, I could totally nerd out on that. I mean, I'm one of the guys who tracked down the old VHS tapes of the work print of Apocalypse and just, I got as much of this movie as I possibly could see. So when your documentary came out, it was just such a revelation. And then I love the approach that you took to it to really give you that sense of history as far as how long people have been talking about doing an adaptation of it. And that footage with Wells, I thought that was wonderful and such a great kind of springboard into here's this maverick who is trying to create this project. Let's see how another maverick, 30, 40 years later, tried his approach.
Of course, I think Wells and Francis have a lot in common in a certain way in terms of their relationship with the powers that be in Hollywood. And they both managed to make great art in the face of a system that's not really that interested in it. So, yeah, to tie the two together was, I think, it was just meant to be. I mean, they stand on the same stage, in my opinion.
It is interesting that Francis stumbles into these situations where Hollywood doesn't want it. They didn't want Apocalypse Now, but they've grown and appreciated it and becomes its classic. But over the years, it's no different than what he's trying to do with the Megalopolis. Holly doesn't want this, but I'm doing it for me. These are the stories that he's passionate about. And same with One from the Heart or what. These are stories that are personal to him, passionate about. And, if it's a great success, great. And if not, maybe in time, it took 20, 30 years for Apocalypse Now to really get out of the hole and bankruptcy that it was in to be appreciated. So he says, art may not be appreciated in this exact moment, but maybe an audience will come around 20, 30 years and find it in a new light. He's making it on his own terms.
So is this just kind of the time was right to finally do this 34 years later after Hearts came out?
Well, yeah, I was probably looking at my library and we've done all the titles and it was like, well, we're at the bottom here. Let's hit Hearts of Darkness.
Dig it.
Yes. That just felt right. There's no real anniversary to it or any. It was just time to do it.
So what is the plan to roll this out? Are we seeing this theatrically? Is there going to be a Blu-ray release next year?
It was released last Friday, July 4th at Rialto at the Film Forum. And now it's starting to get bookings around the country. So people can go to rialto.com and start booking it.
Call your local theater and demand.
Yeah, a lot of people have been booking it along with Apocalypse Now. We always caution bookers or theaters because they want to book Apocalypse Now and Hearts of Darkness together on the same day. And Francis doesn't really ever like that. And it sort of takes away from the experience of the film itself. You watch Hearts of Darkness and then you're imagining, oh, this is where Francis was crazy in this moment. It's like, I just want you to experience the film without all the knowing what was going on in set. So he loves a little distance between the two.
Fax, did you get to go to any of those opening screenings?
No, I did not go to New York. It premiered at the Film Forum in New York last week, but I will be at the Los Feliz 3 in Los Angeles, July 20th, doing a Q&A. And it's screening there the 20th, 23rd, and 24th, and doing a Q&A the 20th and the 24th.
I'm really excited to hear how that goes. To be able to see this film with an audience again after all these years has to be pretty incredible.
It's the way it's meant to be seen.
I'm really hoping that it comes to Detroit because I would love to see this on the big screen again and then have that experience of breaking out of that frame because it's got to be spectacular.
It's different from the original presentation, but we originally, whatever people have been seeing or hearing of Hearts of Darkness, 2 songs were cut out. In our last interview, people were astute enough to know that, will it have Anything Goes or the Susie Q's back in because they were cut out because of licensing issues. Well, they were expensive at the time, but we finally sorted that out. Now we have gone back to that original soundtrack that Fax and his team provided back in the 90s. The original aspect ratio making the impact. I think having Apocalypse sound, as it was originally mixed to, is an important aspect of the presentation.
And if memory serves, you worked on the restoration of that as well.
For all 3 versions, yes. I don't go back to the I just got onto the Redux, but subsequently restored all 3 since then.
Fax, what are you working on these days other than this restoration?
I just picture locked a documentary, a feature documentary. It's a portrait of an environmental activist down on the Texas Gulf Coast. She's a shrimp boat captain, and she fought and won the largest Clean Water Act lawsuit against microplastics manufacturer who was egregiously polluting the bays their family had fished for 4 generations. So it's a David versus Goliath story, not unlike actually Francis's journey of Apocalypse, though, like going up the Sisyphean, was that the words, Sisyphean effort of when to bring this whatever effort she had, up the hill and over for the win. So so I'm excited about that. I think it's a good film, and she's an amazing character.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I can never know what you're working on because you move between genres so fluidly. It's like, the guy who worked with Pauly Shore all these times, Jamie Kennedy, also makes these incredible documentaries too.
It's ADHD.
Okay, there you go. And then, James, are you working on the mega doc? I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, Megadoc will see the light of day, and we probably should hear news in the next couple months.
Gentlemen, I am so excited to have talked with you today about this, and I'm really hoping that more people get to see Hearts of Darkness again on the big screen. I count myself as very lucky way back in 1991 to be able to have seen this. So now more eyes on it all these years later in this restored version. Super excited for it.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.